Okay, we're here. Mitch is gonna have to use the join meeting again. I just sent him a text. For some reason, his thing.
Until he joins, can I go back and revisit what TK was talking about, and Justin,
Yes.
about the
Sure.
REI solutions? Everything that you've been saying last week at this time, TK and Justin, kept reminding me of something I'd worked with before. And it suddenly occurred to me, it's Joe Crump's Auto Marketer Pro system. Is anyone familiar with Joe Crump's Auto Marketer Pro system for $39 a month? Has all of the features you were talking about, TK. And it's user-friendly. It's not, and it's intuitive. It's not you have to be a programmer to use the damn thing. Anybody else have any familiarity with Joe Crump's Auto Marketer Pro?
No.
Wow. I used it a year or two ago.
How much did you say it was, Terry?
Like $40 a month.
And you could
the Joe Crump, what I've seen of his is a push button auto marketer, he calls it, and it's like $200 a month. I never did it.
Push button Auto Marketer Pro. You're right.
Yeah, it's $200 a month is what I.
No. The one I had was 39 something a month.
No,
But it has all of the features, everything that you're talking about, TK.
And what is the name of that, Terry?
Push button Auto Marketer.
And that's 40 a month?
By Joe Crump. Joe Crump is an incredible guy.
Yeah, he is.
Love his content, teaching principles, and he's a wealth of free information as well as his paid programs.
Nice.
Okay, let's go back to whatever we were talking about. Mitch was talking when it hung up.
Back in the different bank crises where we had the savings and loans, back in, let's say, 2000, I'm more familiar with that one. I remember all the bank programs were there on Monday, and by Thursday, all gone. We're talking about everything is gone.
What bank programs, Mitch?
Oh, non-owner occupied, even owner occupied programs just gone. Banks stopped lending on a dime, just like that.
Lending, okay.
And when you then got into the weeds and spoke with the REO officers and above them, and you talked to the vice presidents of lending who are really in charge of the REO within the banks, there are people that have huge connections to the inside that really scoop up the really good stuff. And so these kinds of connections are way beyond us. There are people there that, as an example, I bought a property from an auction website where one of these sets of really high quality persons that have big time big time entree to the REO departments, bought up a whole boatload of properties that were about to be tax delinquent and taken by the county. And they would still have, let's say, a month, 2 months to go. They would put all these properties up on their website. I went over, picked up and looked at a property. They wanted $500 for this property. I said, fine. And I went out and looked at this property, found a buyer for that property, and had the auction company just send the deed to this new buyer, leave my name out of it, and I just collected a $5,000 bill. And that was it. Now, all I'm really saying is that they picked up that auction, that particular property that they sold to me for $500. They probably paid $50 for that. And it's that level that you're going to be dealing with, Daryl. These people have incredible contacts, incredible insight, and they're out there to make a buck just like everybody else.
Somebody's kitchen sounds are coming through in the background. Anybody else hear that?
Yeah, that's got to be mine. Let me turn this speaker down because my old lady's in the kitchen right now.
Yeah, Sid, Sid, all we see is a hat.
Sid
Wait
is
a
all
minute,
hat.
there's no hanky-panky going on here, fellas. Can you hear anything now? Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Yes.
All right, so maybe you wouldn't hear anything in the background now.
All right. Does anybody else want the floor to give us your?
Thanks, Mitch, for that.
Hey, Mitch,
that,
you also, Daryl, you have to watch. I was watching a thing, and I remember when I was on the board of directors, they were talking about, these guys with big hedge funds and stuff. They were, now I don't know if they were doing this on purpose or it was just that deal, but the way it was structured was the guy got it, did all the stuff, did all the work, but didn't default or did something. So that they said, look, in the contract, it says if you do this, you're done. Have a nice day. Your share is now ours. And the guy was effectively out of the deal.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't realize, and I'm like, so you've got to be very careful about, now they structured it. So I remember them talking about how it was first structured. And I'm like, that's genius. I would have never thought of how to do this or that. But there was also the fine print that, put you in the shaft kind of thing.
Sure,
so there's always guys that are brilliant in one aspect, but if they're brilliant in that aspect, they can also be brilliant in the other aspect where you fund everything, you get everything, and all of a sudden they're like, well, here's your money back. Thanks for lending it to us. And you're like, well, wait. And it says, oh, no, it says if it wasn't done if we did it by this date, you didn't get paid. Or if we did, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, that's why I look at some of the big guys and go, I'd rather have someone I could shake their hand and I've known and not have to have a 40-page contract with, rather than, here's a handshake because I know you're going to keep your word, and I'm good with that.
Sure. Yeah, I have some advisors that can steer me through that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're very sophisticated as well.
I just find it sad that you actually have to do that nowadays. But, I mean, I've heard of it done back in the old days, too. So,
Sure.
You have to understand the mentality, though. And this is the really sad part. I've got stories. But in any case, bottom line is their mentality is your money is my money. And that's it. If they can cut you out, they will. Period.
All righty. Who's up?
Okay.
How about Tom? What's up, Tom?
Hi, Marty.
Let's hear what's going on in Nashville and.
Yeah, in fact, we just got a buyer today. We had two yesterday, and the owner picked one, and I guess it's a guy he knew. So that's kind of good.
So you have your boots on the ground guy he's gonna do the paperwork, or do you do the paperwork?
I'll do the paperwork. The guy's going to move in on the 1st of March, I guess. I just got an email from my friend today, so I got to talk to him on the phone tonight. Yeah, it looks like he'll move in on the 1st. So it looks good.
How are you going to handle
How are you
going to handle the money with? They're going to give the checks to your boots on the ground guy, and then what is he doing with it from there?
Hey, Tom, what kind of deal is it? Sorry to interrupt. What kind of deal is this?
Lease option.
Okay.
It's a place in Nashville. It's actually in the flood zone where they had that flood about, I don't know when it was, 4 years ago. And my friend had bought the place for like $50,000 back in, 2010. And we sold it for like $300,000. So he's happy. He's been getting good rent on it for all this time, and he finally he wants to just cut all of his places back there. He's got a bunch of places in Tennessee and up in Michigan. So I think there's a couple others that he wants to sell too. And then I just got off the phone before I got on with this guy in Chesterfield, Virginia, and he's all set to go. This is a guy that I talked to about a year and a half ago. Called him back about 6 months later, and I was just about ready to call him again, and he called me, and he wants to do a lease option. I couldn't believe it. In fact, the first time I talked to him, he had no equity. he thought he was going to get foreclosed on. And I don't know, somehow he wiggled out of all that. And now he's got, he's probably got $25,000 or $30,000 equity in it. I think we'll probably sell it for about $240,000. So that one's going. I got 2 deals in Ohio with the same guy, one in North Canton and one in Akron. And I think possibly he sold the one in North Canton. If he did, that one's for $140,000, and the one in Akron is only $60,000, and it's in a real iffy neighborhood. So if he did sell the other one outright, I don't even know if I want to mess with this $60,000 deal in a bad
$60,000
neighborhood.
lease option.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
but
to
in the
make a
neighborhood,
dollar.
I looked and I found 29 comps within half a mile, all in the last 6 months.
Hmm.
And I mean, they ranged from 10,000 up to about 120,000. And the average is like 69. I mean, places are really moving around there. I don't know. And he even admitted, he said it was a bad neighborhood. So I don't know if I even want to fool with it. And then the one with Rio Vista, which is here, I just have to wait on that. I call the guy every once in a while so he remembers who I am. But the renter is moving out till the end of April. And then we can, I'll start before then. I'll probably start advertising for a buyer in March. Got to give me 2 months to find a good, because it's out there in the sticks, as much as there are sticks here in the Bay Area. And that's about it. Oh, I know one thing. Does anybody have a recommendation about what's a good state to get an LLC in? I've dumped my California LLC. I'm tired of paying $800 a year.
Yeah, I've been doing some research on that right now. I gotta do a new LLC in Texas here.
I remembered the LLC in Nevada. I don't know. I remember they used to do, that's where our old one was. We just did our new one in Texas because, I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. And I don't think we pay anything on it unless you make
not annually.
1.4 million or something.
Yeah, in Texas, you don't pay anything annually. There's a franchise tax on small business if your revenue is over $1 million. But I mean, if you get to that point, then
if you get to that, you open 2 LLCs, suggesting $500,000 each. I mean, it ain't fucking rocket science.
Right. So
Nevada
it's
and New Hampshire are the 2 that are most often come to surface.
You ever tried Delaware, Tom?
No, I was going to originally get it in Nevada a long time ago, but
Wyoming
I found out the
Delaware
California
seems
anyway. So
Delaware seems to be pretty reasonable, pretty fair.
Yeah,
If you-
We have ours in Wyoming right now.
There we are.
Wyoming also,
Daryl,
right?
why do you have yours in Wyoming if you're in Texas?
Well, because we wanted a certain name, and if that name is taken in Texas, you cannot use it. You have to get permission from 1, 2, 3 companies or so, whatever it is that has your name that you'd like to choose.
Oh, I see. Yours was similar or too close to a name.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's one of the negatives about going with Texas.
Well, Wyoming, though, has an enormous number of advantages. I opened up in Nevada, and with what they call a continuance in Wyoming. So you shut down the Nevada corporation while you still maintain a bank account there, and that gives you the presence in Nevada. People thinking that you have a Nevada corporation, not knowing that you have a Wyoming corporation. So you throw another log in the fire that they have to overcome. But one of the problems with Nevada is that apparently they're now giving out information about the ownership of the Nevada corporation, which will lead to an easier ability to put a lien against the assets.
Hmm.
And so in Wyoming, there is no such ability. They don't recognize those kinds of liens. And as a result, in Wyoming, you get a better set of protections.
I haven't heard in Wyoming that they don't disclose the owners of the business.
Here's
Right.
Well,
here's my question. I thought you had to be in the state to have a business in the state. Like we had to just register in Ohio because doing business, the agency doing business in Ohio, because we have a property there that we're holding. And I was like, I was always under the impression you had to be in the area to file taxes and live in the area. Not live, but do work in that area.
We've done it in Florida and Texas, and there's a lot of information out there advising us to start up a Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada company because of the asset protection it affords, TK. So,
but how would you end up? Like, as I said, in Ohio, you still had to file all that stuff to do business there. Does that mean if you have a Wyoming one and you're doing business in Texas, you have to file in Texas that you're doing business?
We have to register in each state that we're actually active. I was talking to Mitch about this the other day. So, like, we've just closed down our Florida company. If we now want to carry on, if somebody sends me a deal from Jacksonville and we want to close on it, we've actually got to register our Texas company in Florida.
I don't know, is there an expense to that? I mean, you just register. You have to register as a foreign, like a foreign corporation or something like that.
Foreign, yeah, not
entity.
foreign profit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's another. Here's another tip for LLC.
$100.
Google AIELLO, first name Al, and you get the opportunity through his daughter, because he passed away, but his daughter took over the business, and they assist you to form the LLC manually, what they provide you, and it's just as good as it might save you. Aiello is the last name, Al Aiello, AIELLO.
What do they charge for that, Sid?
Yeah, he's
I'm sorry?
What do they charge for that?
I don't remember, but it's for me, it was about nominal. And it appears to have had more flexibility than the others. So I went with him, and my corporation is still active.
Yeah, if you're comfortable doing these sort of things on your own, which even with Michelle here, we originally were, but that's why we went with Steve Newsom in Texas. But the company we used originally was mynewcompany.com.
Okay.
Mynewcompany.com. They do all of that. They provide all the online paperwork for you. It's okay, but I think if you're a bit concerned about getting it right, then my advice.
Well, what they do, they hook you up with another company, of which I don't remember the name right now. They do everything for you. Just pay them an annual fee. I just paid my annual fee, $100 and something about maybe 6-8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
I got a little story. I'll try to tell it as quick as I can. So one of the flood houses I bought in Kingwood, Texas. I bought it from a guy. It was his business, an LLC. What I found out later was that about 2 weeks before I bought the house, he was going through a divorce, and his soon-to-be ex-wife filed lease pendants and recorded it against the house. This is before I closed, so I should have never even bought the house, but the title company missed it. So I couldn't refinance the property. That's how I found out about it. And now this guy and his soon-to-be ex-wife, their divorce hearing is coming up in March, and she decided to add my company name and my wife and myself in her petition seeking a judgment. She's trying to claim this was a fraudulent sale. So, I mean, the title company's on the hook for it, but it's got me thinking about asset protection and all this kind of stuff. So I've been researching this all week, past couple of weeks. Like, in Texas here, it's nothing to find out who owns a company. You just go to the Texas Secretary of State. So this asset protection person that I'm talking to is they say, well, don't have when you make your LLC, don't put your name as the owner of the LLC. Make it a trust that owns the LLC.
To be determined.
Marty, I love that, how you thought of asset protection. My first thought was, I hope my wife's not crazy like this bitch.
that was my second thought.
I'm like,
But anyway, so I did nothing wrong. I just bought a house, and now all of a sudden I'm being sued. So my point to just everyone out there is like, you don't really think about it too much until you get oh shit.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm at right now. And then when you have the oh shit, you're like, okay, did I do this right? Did I?
hey, Marty, are you allowed to counter? Are you allowed to counter to get your lawyer stuff back?
Yeah, we are. And I just read the title company's attorney is representing me. I just read her counter to, and this guy's in big trouble because the guy that sold me the house, he represented himself as a single person.
Oh boy!
At the title company. So now she's claiming fraud, and she may have a case there. And now the title company is handling it for me. They're countersuing him now for fraud, also, because he said he was single. And so I don't know where it's going to go. But in the meantime, this guy's ex-wife, she's trying to put a claim to this house.
Well, it doesn't matter if she says he's single. It only matters that somehow her name was not on the deed when it was passed to you.
Well,
it was supposed to be on the deed.
It was a single member LLC that he started that bought the house, and same single member LLC that sold the house.
So why does she have a case?
I don't know.
Because in Texas, it's a single partner state. That means whatever I own, my wife automatically owns.
Yeah. So she should be. The point is, she should be suing. She should just be suing him or the title company. But her, harebrained attorney who just probably thinks he's like Johnny Cochran or something.
Yeah, Clarence Darrow.
And he's just saying, hey, well, let's just sue the people that bought the house too, and let's not just sue their company. Let's find out.
Sue everybody against somebody is the theory.
Sue everybody.
Yes, exactly.
See what sticks. So, but my point is, if my LLC had been owned by a trust, they would have seen that, and then just said, okay, well, let's not bother with Marty and Kelly. Let's just sue the company.
A land trust, a simple land trust.
Along those lines, I also learned that if the property is owned in one state and is owned by a trust in another state, they don't even take a second look because they can't come up with anything.
Well, you want your trustee to be ideally like somebody that's not in the same county and has a different
or state for that matter.
Or trustee.
This company that I'm looking at to set up a series LLC for me and do this in a trust. They have an annual program, like $550 a month or a year, and they'll act as your registered agent and your trustee for all your trusts. So I'm
a mailing address as well, Marty.
Marty, can you email that to us too, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'll put it on the Facebook page. It's for right now. It's Royal Legal Solutions. It's not cheap. Definitely not cheap. But I'm looking at it and going, I've got a few properties that I own right now with tenants in them, and all it takes is one stupid person to.
Question: Is this a topic? Is this a topic of interest to people? We're talking about corporate setup and hiding assets and all this.
Yeah,
I could get the guy that I'm talking with to come in as a guest. He'd probably love to. The only thing I don't like about it is that is like a little too much of a sales pitch.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. The guy that I deal with in Nevada also has a legal background and also the sales pitch. He's a bit arrogant, but he knows his crap. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Knows his stuff.
Yeah, they seem
And-
pretty sharp. I looked them up on Bigger Pockets. I didn't see too much in the way of reviews. One person was questioning, they had signed up with them and were having some communication trouble, but then they replied again and said everything was fine. So I know they're legit. They did a podcast interview with Mitch Stephen. That's how I heard about them. But I'm going to call a couple other companies too, just to compare.
I'll give you the name of my guy, Marty, and
Okay.
let me know what you think of him.
Okay, yeah, please. Yeah,
Let me make
I'll
a
put a
note.
post. I'll put a post on the Facebook page, and then Mitch, if you could just like maybe add onto it,
Yeah, sure.
that'd be good.
Just as on the same subject to that, I didn't mention last week, but I got a call from the lawyer in Florida about our case with the DBPR, Department of Realtors.
Business and Professional Association.
Yeah, the lawyer informed me that they've dropped the case on us, so I'm out of jail.
Bravo, Steve-O.
Taken off the wall, but yeah, it's been hanging over the top of us. Same thing as Marty, though. The guy that reported us just went to the company's website, found mine and Michelle's name on the company documents, and that was it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I mean, make your LLC owned by a trust.
Frivolous lawsuit.
You
Yep.
guys, you see this? I was just talking to Greg about this. That's why Justin and I were just going over. We have to make two holding LLCs because the Ada Group is a flipping one. We're starting to hold a lot. And Greg was just talking about they built a house in Meyerland, a $1.7 million house. The neighbors sued because it was so weird. The neighbors sued the previous owner. Greg, who was the builder, his partner, who was the architect and the building company, and a whole bunch of other people, because they weren't given first rights and refusals to buy the property.
Well,
And I'm like,
why do you?
this
Why do you
was
think you did
after
that?
the house was built, and they even sued the new owner that lived there.
So people can just sue for whatever that.
And I'm like,
if they know somebody or they know a little bit, they think they're Perry Mason. Just
Right.
Like, let's just sue everybody.
and this is why I was asking, because it cost I think it was $300,000 for the whole suit and everything else. And Greg and them the judge would not let them go after those people. I'm like, so they can sue everybody and their aunt and uncle, but you can't go back after them. I said, I would have torched their house. I know where you live. Say barbecue Ella. But I thought that was amazing that you could just, Marty, I didn't know that. Well, did he own the LLC before they were married?
I don't know. He filed the paperwork on the LLC right around the same time that that she filed for divorce.
Oh, because see, like a prime example would be Jeanette and I aren't married. Well, you could file that and back. But say I decide to get married tomorrow. The Ada Group is before I was married, so therefore it would not consider as joint stuff because we had it before.
Mhm.
So if he had that
So he
before he got
started-
married,
No,
It
he
might-
started it. He started it while he was still legally married.
yeah, he's pooched. Now, you know what? They may award her back the house and just give you money.
That guy he's got no money.
No, I meant you get the money from the insurance company, not us from the. So you would have to go after the title company.
I mean the title company is. I don't know. I don't think she's going to get anything. Really.
I'd like you got to tell us how that ends because I'd like to find out. I've heard a few times where something like this happened, or not marriage, but there was a suit, and one time the guy was like, the title company had to say, "This is what it's appraised for right now. Here's your money," and they get that person got the house back, and I'm like, that's amazing. And this was not like 1 or 2 years. This was like 4 or 5 years after the fact. The cousin or whatever it was came back and said, no, they didn't have mine. It was an heirship thing. And you'd think that they'd just be like, here's your share or whatever you should get. But
I'm not sure what's going on because I mean, the time frame from when this all started to when this particular house was purchased is about 3 years. So, like, I'm wondering, well, is she suing? Is she suing every person that ever bought a house from the guy in the last 3 years? Because I'm sure he's done more than one deal.
Probably only
Probably,
one.
she's
Fine.
probably bitter. And you know what? That's so sad when you see stuff like that. It's like we had one that my uncle and I loved the house. We wanted to buy it. I wanted to live there, and he's like, "Do my children get anything?" And I said, "Well, your wife died without a will, so they get 50% split between two of them, and you get the other 50%." And he looked at my uncle and said, "I will fucking watch this house burn before I see them get a dime." They treated their mother with such disrespect and everything else. And it's still sitting there to the day, rotting into the ground because he refuses. I'm like, that hate just got to eat you alive. And I've seen a few cases kind of like that. You're just amazing.
Come on, get the emotion out of it. We're talking logic here at some point, right?
But I mean, like,
Not
she's
at all.
probably bitter and now going after everybody that she can see. And you're just unfortunately stuck in the whirlwind of hate. And it's just amazing sometimes. Sometimes you look at those, that's a great deal. And you have to go, you know what? I just don't want to get sucked into that whirlwind.
That's right. I've been caught in that vortex, at least half dozen times, and or I shouldn't say I've been caught in it. I could have been caught in it, except I say thanks but no thanks because the venom is just so palatable.
Yeah, we had a probate one. There were 26 heirs, and we finally got it all done, and it was a great deal. But all of a sudden, the three cousins are fighting over this clock, grandma's clock. We had to literally have 4 sheriffs at the closing. Armed sheriffs, and the clock is one of those ones that sits on top of it's
mantle.
like this mantle. And I'm looking at this going, dude, I can get this for $6.99 down at the freaking flea market. Are you kidding me? You guys are ready to fucking kill each other over this piece of shit. I was about to slam it on the floor. Now none of you assholes get it. Now get it out of my face. Like, it was so asinine. But I mean, that deal really, like, ate us alive. I mean, I would think about it and I get knots in my stomach going, oh my God, I've been going back and forth.
TK, I have one of those clocks. It's a peak, it's a classic, and it strikes 24 o'clock 2 times a day.
Well, you're right, twice a day. That doesn't mean anything.
All right.
Thanks, bud, you
let's move on.
dickhead.
Anybody else got some shared experiences for them?
I've got a piece of data. I reached out today and had a wonderful conversation with one of my contacts that I hadn't spoken with for about 2 years. And this is a gentleman at a database company that I had mentioned before. He's still there. Database company is still giving some great prices on leads for telephone numbers. The prices have gone up to 4 cents a telephone number. I have to give thousands of requests, lines, to get them to do some action on this. So if anyone's got a list of people that they want phone numbers for, let me know, and let me know right away so I can put that list in with my list. All that I need are 6 columns. I need a column, and this would be in Excel or CSV format. First name, another column for last name, another column for the street address, the full street address. 123 Oak Street, Northwest. All right, so that's a full street address.
That's for what kind of service, Mitch?
I'll get to that. Then you want the city, you want the state, and the zip. And if it's a zip plus 4, the zip plus 4 should be just like that in one column. So not very much data, but do remember the street address is 1 line, 1 column for the full street address. And you said what kind of service? If I give, let's just say 10,000 names with this set of data, I'm told that depending on the quality of the lead, we should be getting back minimally 70% and as high as 93%. Getting back with good phone numbers. And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, but 70 or 93% of what?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean of what.
You said we should get back, if everything is good, we should get back X percentage.
You mean
Are we
70%?
getting-
You mean 70% of the
list that you
leads will get a.
I see, off the list, okay.
what else might it have been?
I don't know, I just thought
Okay, very good.
something
So-
went by me.
All right. So if I give them 10,000 names, we should get back someplace 80 to 85% good phone numbers.
Mhm.
Mhm.
At 4 cents a search?
Yeah, it would cost me 4 cents a name.
That's pretty cheap.
So if
Right.
you have anything, let me know right away.
Okay. Thank you, Mitch. Steve Green, anything exciting this week?
Yeah, I've been dealing with some personal stuff more than anything else. Yeah, I'll come back to that. But no, nothing to report on the. Not yet. We're getting very close to hopefully being able to get some good motivated leads coming in. Had an interesting call from a realtor last week. Just after the call, she's got a property where there's a seller dropped her price from 250 down to 215. The property is a 4-bedroom place with a 1-bedroom annex, so it's a 5-bedroom all up. And there are 4 other outbuildings on the property. I think she said an acre. And they have a couple that is looking to buy the property, but they cannot get conventional financing because FHA won't loan on it because of the condition. So she said, well, is this something you might be interested in doing seller financing on? So Michelle and I have put together a quick email. Obviously, we can't buy it at 215, but we've gone back to her with a 150 figure. She said the seller's looking to sell it so she can give her 2 sons 100,000 each. So we'll see if they come back and it looks like a good deal. It could net us something like $600 a month. But, we'll see. We're just working on it. But really good that we've kept in this. This is one of the realtors that we met up with while we were in Texas. So she's in the Fort Worth area. So, good to stay in touch with these people.
Have you gotten any data or tried to do something to find out what is necessary to make the property go to a different level? What's the fix-up cost?
At the moment, she's only got a verbal. That's all. There's no. I don't think there's a breakdown of any scope of work or costs. All she has is from the potential buyer an idea that they need to do this, that, and that. So we've conservatively just worked on the main structure and put down a figure of 25 to 30 grand. It looks good, when you're looking online on Google and stuff like that. But of course, you can't verify the property. So in the email that I returned, I said obviously contingent on condition and repair value.
30 seconds.
Good point. Good point.
30 seconds for this segment. Mitch, you're going to have to. Did you write that number down?
Yeah, I did.
To join again.
I did. I've got that.
Okay.
So I've never done a transaction like what you've just said, Steve. But it certainly sounds tenuous.